morning, this is Bob Mason from FX Empire and welcome to another daily crypto tech analysis of EOS, Ethereum and Ripple's XRP, and we will be looking at Bitcoin and the MACDs. Jumping straight into EOS against the dollar and the hourly candlestick, quite a sell-off yesterday. Going to need to see EOS break through the pivot at 52.30 today in the early part of the day really to support a run at this first major resistance level at 58.52. Going to need to see support from the broader market for EOS to take a run at 55s and a breakout from there. Failing to break through the pivot is going to bring the first major support level sitting at 44.20 into play. Barring an extended sell-off, we should see EOS avoid sub 240s and the second major support level sitting at 37.93. Moving across to the daily candlesticks for EOS and the MACD. A fall through this key support level sitting at 242s would be an issue for the bulls, and we would then see a bearish cross on the MACD to put another leg down that would bring this key support level at 226. Fall through there and we're going to see a reversal of this near-term bullish trend formed back in mid-March. Breakout from today's major resistance level sitting at 58.52 would bring this first key resistance level at 290 into play, and then a breakout from there is going to be needed to maintain this near-term bullish trend. So for the day, failure to break through that pivot would bring this key support level at 242 and a possible crossover to form a bearish trend again for the day. Moving across to Ethereum against the dollar in the hourly candlestick. It's a relatively positive start today. It's been in the red, however. We need to see Ethereum break through the pivot at 238 to take a run at this first major resistance level sitting at 245.43. Barring another extended crypto rally that we saw yesterday morning, that first major resistance level should cap in the upside. In the event of a breakout, we see resistance at 250 continuing to be a key level for Ethereum near term. Failure to break through the pivots, going to bring the first major support level sitting at 227 into play. Barring an extended sell-off, should see sub 220s and the second major support level at 219 avoided. Moving across to the daily candlesticks and the MACD for Ethereum. Key level here, a breakout through today's first major resistance level, would bring this key resistance at 253 into play, and then the 23.6% fib. Going to need to see a breakout from that pivot at 238, however. Failing to break out through the pivot, going to see that attempted crossover for a bullish day probably fail, and then bring this first key support level at 225 into play. Fall through that and we're going to see sub 200s and that 176 that would then reverse that near-term bullish trend. So avoiding sub 225s on the day will be key. Moving across to Ripple's XRP against the dollar in the hourly candlestick. Range bound start today, saw an early dip. Going to need to see a move through the pivot at 1855 to support a run at the first major resistance level at 1890 and another attempt at a breakout at 19s. Failure to break through the pivot, it's going to bring the first major support level sitting at 18 into play. Barring extended sell-off, should see Ripple's XRP avoid the second major support level at 1762. Key on the day is obviously going to be a break through the pivot and then a move through yesterday's high 19,064 is going to be needed to then bring key resistance levels into play that we'll talk about shortly. Looking at Ripple XRP's daily candlesticks and the MACD, we saw Ripple's XRP fall through that key support level at 1840 yesterday. Managed to avoid sub 18s in this key support level at 1750, however. A move back through 1840s and the pivot on the day would avoid a further pullback and bring this first key resistance level at 2130 into play. Bullish day would bring 20s into play. if we see an early breakthrough, the first major resistance level at 1890. Looking at the MACD, we saw a possible bullish crossover pullback. So key is this 1840 level, and for Ripple's XRP to avoid the first major support level of the day at 18s. Fall through that and we're going to see another pullback on the day. Moving across to Bitcoin against the dollar in the daily candlestick, we saw that move through 9,500, fail at the attempted run at 9,900. So we're going to need to see a move back through that key resistance at 9,500 to support a move back through to 10,000, and then this key resistance level sitting at 10,398. A breakdown on the day, we could see this key support level at sub 9s come into play that would bring the 23.6% fib at 8,900. Looking at the MACD, an attempted bullish crossover failed, so key on the day is for Bitcoin to avoid sub 9,200. Fall through that and expect another bearish day and then a pullback through to sub 8,900.